What if I told you that death isn't an ending, but actually the beginning of a journey your consciousness takes through what Tibetan masters call the Bardos? The Tibetan Book of the Dead, compiled in the 8th century by Padmasambhava, describes in vivid detail what happens to your awareness after your body dies. The word Bardo means any gap or transition between states of mind, and here's what's fascinating. This ancient text isn't just about death. It's a roadmap for understanding your mind right now, revealing how the same patterns that play out after death are already happening in your daily life. This ancient wisdom offers something our modern world desperately needs: a detailed map of consciousness itself, written by people who spent their entire lives studying how awareness moves through different states of being. Most people dismiss this ancient wisdom as religious mythology. They see the colorful descriptions of deities and supernatural realms and assume it's all symbolic folklore. But something interesting is happening in near-death experience research and meditation studies. Scientists are finding remarkable parallels to what these Tibetan masters described centuries ago. The experiences people report during deep altered states mirror the journey outlined in this ancient text with startling accuracy. Here's what might surprise you most about the Bardo Thodol. It was never meant to be read only to dying people. The real purpose was for living practitioners to study it deeply, memorize its teachings, and practice its techniques while their minds were sharp and clear. Think of it like studying a map before you take a journey. You wouldn't wait until you're lost in the wilderness to look at your compass. The same principle applies here. Tibetan monks spent centuries mapping the mind's journey through different states of awareness. They developed meditation practices that allowed them to explore these states while still alive, using systematic techniques to enter dreamlike states consciously, experience the dissolution of ordinary thinking, and practice navigating the spaces between thoughts. The patterns they discovered aren't limited to death. Consider what happens when you fall asleep at night. Your consciousness moves through stages that mirror the death process. The moment right before sleep, when your thoughts start to dissolve and you lose awareness of your body over the span of several minutes, reflects the initial stages described in the Bardo teachings. During deep meditation, you might experience gaps where thinking stops completely and pure awareness remains. These gaps give you a taste of what the text calls the clear light. Even intense emotional experiences follow similar patterns. Think about moments of sudden shock or overwhelming beauty. Your normal sense of self temporarily dissolves. Time seems to stop. You experience a kind of raw awareness that's usually hidden beneath your everyday thoughts and concerns. The Bardo teachings suggest these are glimpses of the same luminous awareness that becomes fully revealed at death. The word Bardo itself means any gap or transition between states of mind. It's not just about death. Every moment of change in your consciousness is a mini-Bardo, the space between sleeping and waking, the pause between thoughts during meditation, the moment of recognition when you suddenly understand something new. These transitions happen constantly, but most people don't notice them because they're focused on the content of their experiences rather than the awareness itself. This understanding can transform how you handle uncertainty and change in your daily life. When you know that transitions are natural movements of consciousness, you can learn to navigate them with more skill and less fear. The same techniques used to prepare for death can help you move through life changes, emotional challenges, and spiritual growth with greater wisdom and peace. The monks who preserved these teachings weren't trying to create a religion. They were sharing practical knowledge about the nature of mind itself. They discovered that consciousness doesn't disappear when the body dies. Instead, it moves through recognizable stages, each offering opportunities for awakening and liberation. But more importantly, they found that understanding these stages gives you insight into your mind right now, in this very moment. In a culture that often treats death as the ultimate failure, the Bardo Thodol presents it as the ultimate opportunity. It's a chance for consciousness to recognize its true nature free from the limitations of physical form. But that recognition starts with understanding what consciousness actually is while you're still alive. The Tibetan Book of the Dead has guided countless people through death for over 1,000 years because it speaks to something universal about consciousness itself. It reveals patterns that transcend cultural and religious boundaries, offering a map that anyone can learn to read. But what exactly does this ancient map show us about the journey ahead? According to the ancient map, your consciousness travels through 3 distinct doorways, each offering different opportunities for awakening. These aren't mythical places you visit after you die. They're states of awareness that your mind naturally moves through, following patterns that happen in smaller ways throughout your life. The Tibetan teachers mapped these 3 Bardo states like rooms in a house that every consciousness must explore. But here's what most people don't realize. In that initial interval after death, lasting about as long as a meal, your chance for liberation appears. The first Bardo begins the moment your breath stops. Your consciousness starts pulling away from the physical world and your body, gradually turning inward until all you're aware of is a growing luminosity that appears from within your own mind. This inner glow is your first glimpse of what they call the Dharmata, the essence of reality itself. Your consciousness has spent an entire lifetime filtered through physical senses and mental chatter. Now, for the first time, you experience awareness without those filters. Recognizing this luminosity for what it truly is becomes the key to complete liberation. The second Bardo opens when your consciousness fully separates from your physical body. You enter the Bardo of Dharmata, where everything you experience comes as sounds, colors, and lights rather than solid material forms. The underlying essence of all these light experiences remains the same luminosity you glimpsed in the first Bardo, but now it appears more dramatically as peaceful visions or intense, overwhelming displays. The third Bardo arrives when consciousness begins seeking a new form to inhabit. This is the Bardo of becoming, where your awareness starts looking for a future birth. Even at this stage, liberation remains possible. Fear becomes intense during this phase, but that very intensity can actually sharpen your mind's focus and create an opportunity for awakening rather than automatic rebirth. You can recognize these same patterns in experiences you already know. As your thoughts dissolve before sleep, you're in a mini-first Bardo. Your consciousness gradually withdraws from external awareness, just like the dying process. Deep in meditation, you might experience states where solid reality dissolves into light and space, similar to the second Bardo. And during major life transitions, changing jobs, ending relationships, moving to new places, you experience that seeking quality of the third Bardo as you look for your next stable identity. Understanding these states transforms how you handle change and uncertainty right now. When you know that consciousness naturally moves through cycles of dissolution and reformation, you can approach life's transitions with more skill and less panic. The same awareness that navigates death also navigates the smaller deaths and rebirths that happen throughout your daily life. Each time you face a moment of letting go, you're practicing for the ultimate letting go. Each time you rest in the space between thoughts during meditation, you're training for the spaces between lives. Each time you consciously choose your response during a crisis instead of reacting automatically, you're developing the recognition skills that matter most in the Bardos. The 3 Bardo states reveal something profound about consciousness itself. Your awareness isn't dependent on your body or your thoughts or your circumstances. It's a luminous capacity that can recognize itself under any conditions. This recognition becomes your guide through every transition, both in life and beyond. The first of these doorways holds the most promise, a moment when something extraordinary appears that could change everything. In the moment your breath stops, something extraordinary happens. A light appears that's brighter than the sun, but doesn't hurt your eyes. This isn't the kind of light you see with your physical eyes. It's pure awareness itself, shining without any object to illuminate. The Tibetan teachings call this the clear light, and it's the first thing your consciousness encounters after death. Picture awareness without anything to be aware of. No thoughts, no memories, no sense of your body or the world around you. Just pure luminous knowing. The text describes this light as open and empty like space, a luminous void, pure naked mind without center or circumference. This is what appears when your consciousness separates from everything that usually defines your experience. Here's the remarkable part. This light offers immediate liberation from the entire cycle of death and rebirth. But most people turn away when they encounter it. The openness feels too vast. The silence feels too empty. When fear arises, the life force energy rushes down through the body's energy channels, pulling consciousness away from the very thing that could set them completely free. Think about it. You've spent your whole life identifying with your thoughts, your body, your story. Suddenly, all of that disappears and only pure awareness remains. It's natural to feel overwhelmed. What this light actually represents is the true nature of your mind itself. Usually, this luminous awareness stays hidden beneath layers of thoughts and emotions. You might catch glimpses of it during quiet moments, but it's always there as the background of every experience you've ever had. The clear light reveals this awareness in its pure form, without any mental activity covering it up. Tibetan practitioners spend their entire lives preparing to recognize this moment. They practice meditation techniques that help them become familiar with states of pure awareness. They learn to rest comfortably in the gaps between thoughts. They train themselves to recognize luminosity even in ordinary consciousness. When a practiced meditator encounters the clear light at death, it's like meeting an old friend. They know how to merge with it rather than pull away in fear. You've probably experienced hints of this same luminous awareness during your own life. Maybe during a beautiful sunset when thinking stopped and you felt completely present. Or in deep meditation when your sense of self dissolved and only awareness remained. Some people describe it during moments of crisis when everything became crystal clear and peaceful despite the chaos around them. These experiences give you a taste of what the clear light actually is. The teachings describe two very different outcomes depending on how you respond to this light. If you recognize it as your own true nature and merge with it completely, you achieve what they call the Dharmakaya, the highest level of awakening possible. You become liberated from the entire cycle of death and rebirth in that instant. No more suffering, no more confusion, just pure unlimited awareness. But if fear makes you pull back from the vastness of this experience, your consciousness moves into the next Bardo state. You miss the opportunity for immediate liberation and instead enter a realm where your own mental projections create everything you experience. The choice happens in seconds, which is why preparation during life becomes so important. Here's what might surprise you most about the clear light. This same luminous awareness is present in your mind right now as you listen to these words. It's not something that only appears at death. It's the background awareness that makes all your experiences possible. Usually it stays hidden beneath your daily mental chatter, but it's always there, like the sun behind clouds. When you start recognizing this luminous quality of awareness in your everyday life, you begin preparing for the ultimate recognition at death. You've glimpsed it in moments of deep meditation or awe when everything felt perfectly clear and present. Each time you notice the space between thoughts during meditation, you're training for the clear light. Each time you rest in pure awareness without needing to think about anything, you're practicing the most important skill you'll ever develop. But when consciousness can't recognize this fundamental light, something fascinating happens. Your own mind begins creating elaborate worlds filled with beings that seem completely real and independent. This is where consciousness enters the Bardo of Dharmata, a realm where your mind becomes the architect of everything you experience. What if every deity, demon, and divine being you encounter after death is actually a projection of your own mind? This might sound hard to believe, but the Bardo Thodol teaches something remarkable about consciousness. When you can't recognize the clear light, your awareness doesn't just fade away. Instead, it creates elaborate visions that feel completely real. These experiences come entirely from within your own mental patterns and emotional habits. The text says these visions spring from within your own mind, not from outside. Your consciousness becomes like a movie projector, displaying images that seem external but originate completely from your own awareness. These visions feel incredibly real and can be either terrifying or blissful. Your heart might race with fear or expand with overwhelming joy. But they're all coming from within your own mind. Just like a vivid dream seems real until you wake up, so do these bardos. You don't question the strange logic or impossible situations until you wake up. The bardos work similarly, except the stakes feel much higher because you don't have a physical body to ground your experience. The peaceful deities appear first. Buddhas and divine beings radiate compassion and wisdom, offering guidance and comfort. These figures represent the potential for awakening that exists within your own consciousness. The text explains that these are the radiances of your own intellectual faculties, not coming from any other place. These beautiful visions reflect your own capacity for love, wisdom, and peace. But here's where things get intense. If you don't recognize these peaceful forms as projections of your own mind, they transform into wrathful deities. The same energy that appeared as compassionate Buddhas now manifests as fierce, terrifying figures. These wrathful forms are compassionate anger, the same Buddha energy and fierce aspect to shake you out of confusion. This transformation happens because your consciousness is trying to wake you up. When gentleness doesn't work, it uses intensity. The wrathful deities aren't punishing you. They're your own wisdom appearing in whatever form might break through your confusion and fear. You can see this same pattern in your daily life right now. Your emotions and mental patterns create your experience of reality in ways you might not notice. When you're angry, everything seems hostile. When you're peaceful, the same situations feel manageable. When you're anxious, you project danger onto neutral events. Your mind constantly creates the world you experience. Think about how different people can walk through the same situation and have completely different experiences. One person sees opportunity where another sees threat. One feels welcomed where another feels rejected. The external situation stays the same, but each person's mental patterns create their reality. The key teaching here changes everything. The moment you realize these are your own projections, you become free from them. Recognition breaks the spell. It's like waking up from a nightmare and realizing it was just a dream. The fear disappears because you understand what's actually happening. This applies directly to your daily life. Notice when you're projecting fears onto situations. Watch how your expectations shape what you experience. Pay attention to moments when you react to your own mental story rather than what's actually happening. These are opportunities to practice the same recognition that matters in the Bardos. Maybe you're worried about a conversation with your boss, creating scenarios in your mind that feel completely real. Or you're projecting past hurts onto a new relationship, seeing threats that exist only in your imagination. The practice is the same. Recognize these as your own mental creations rather than external reality. Understanding that your mind creates your reality, both in life and after death, gives you incredible power. You're not a victim of circumstances or cosmic forces. You're the creator of your own experience. When you truly get this, you can work with your projections instead of being controlled by them. This understanding reveals something profound about what this ancient text is really trying to teach us. The Tibetan Book of the Dead isn't really about death. It's about recognizing the luminous nature of your consciousness that's always been there. This ancient wisdom offers 3 practical takeaways for your daily life. First, recognize the mini-bardos happening constantly around you. Second, train yourself to notice the gaps in awareness, the pause before sleep, the space between breaths, the moment thoughts dissolve. Third, apply these Bardo insights to life's transitions for greater ease and peace. Every meditation session, Every moment between thoughts, every transition in your life gives you practice for the ultimate journey. Death isn't something that happens to you. It's a journey your consciousness is already prepared to take. You've been practicing your whole life without even knowing it. Tonight, notice the exact moment you drift from waking awareness into sleep. That transition is your teacher, showing you how consciousness naturally moves through different states. Start there and let this ancient map guide you toward understanding the luminous awareness that's always been your true nature.